and in person from the hills of Tennessee, home of the real hillbillies, home of the 17th President of the United States. Please welcome Miss Lynnie Pearl.
I am so proud to be here today. What a fine-looking group of folks. Now, you know, Miss Betty invited me here, and I would like to thank her for inviting me here today. You know, I really got to know her in the 2 months that I talked with her on the phone, and I was so excited about meeting her today. But you know, she's going to be laughing with us, I know. Can most of you hear me, or do I need to stay right here? I need to stay right here. Well, I'm so proud to be here, and I'd like to dedicate today to Miss Betty. I was anxious to meet her, like I said, and I know everyone is going to miss her. But she told me she loved her group here at the church, and she had heard from someone that heard me speak. So she said, I want you to come and make us all laugh like you did at that Methodist church. I told her I would try. I don't know if there's a difference in a Methodist church and a Baptist church. We all love that one guy up above, don't we? Well, I'd like to share a laugh or two with you today. I like to prance around, so when I'm out prancing around, I'll try to just talk real loud. My mama always said that a person that's hard to hear, isn't it? My mama always said a person without laughter in their life was like a wagon with a broke wheel. You ain't gonna get very far. And I told that to Miss Betty, and she laughed. She said, that is so true. And just last week, a lady told me that her mother always said, a person without laughter in their life is a lost soul. I'd never heard it put quite that way. When I was 8 years old, I saw the real Minnie Pearl. Lord, I loved her. She had on a green check dress. She had on a hat with a price tag hanging down off of it. I didn't understand a word she was saying, but I loved the people laughing. So all the way home and for weeks thereafter, I told my mom and my daddy I want to grow up to be just like Minnie Pearl. And my real name is Lynnie. So my mother, at the age of me being 8, started calling me Lynnie Pearl, and she called me that until 2007 at the age of 92 when she passed away. So I love to hear her call me Lynnie Pearl. So I feel like I got the name real honest. I lived on a farm. Okay, man, this is like tying me down to a tobacco wagon. All right, I lived on a farm with my dad, my mom, my sister Winnie, and my brother Timmy. I didn't know I was a hillbilly till I left Tennessee and came away here to Georgia to college. My daddy told me to be politically correct, that I needed to tell everybody that I was an Appalachian American. He said, you know, they just don't understand hillbillies down there in Atlanta, Georgia. So, you know, he said they was a little bit more uppity than East Tennessee. But I worked outside on the farm with my dad, and my sister Gwenny, she stayed in the house and she learned how to cook and do all them girly things. My sister Gwenny was the smart one, and I know this because my mama was telling me every day, why can't you be more like your sister Gwenny? So I figured, well, I must have done something else that upset her. My brother Timmy, he was born several years after me, 15 years to be exact. And you know, he was placed on a pedestal the day he was born, and he is still there, and he's over 55 now. My sister Gwenny was out shopping one day with her friends. She turned 16, and my daddy let her have one of the old cars that was just out in the yard to drive, you know, as her car. So she went to the store and met up with some of her friends, and oh, it was a cold winter day, and she came back out, and it was snowing so hard. There's just a blizzard everywhere. She said, how am I ever going to get home? Do you think I'll ever see my mom and my daddy again? You know, smart people don't have common sense, you know.
She is scared she was never going to see nobody ever again. So she went out in the old car and she cranked it up and she got it all warm. And as she began to warm up and the car began to warm up, she remembered her daddy's words of wisdom. He told her, if you ever get stuck out in a snowstorm or anything like this, if you'll just stay right there, a snowplow will come along and you just pull right out behind that snowplow and you'll be saved. And she did. There was a snowplow coming by. So she was pulled right out behind him. After over an hour, that big old snowplow stopped. And the man come over there and knocked on her window. He said, "Ma'am, I can't help but notice you've been following me for well over an hour now. Is everything okay?" She said, "Oh, yes, it's okay now." And she shared with him her daddy's words of wisdom. He said, "You know, ma'am, I appreciate what you're doing. And I know your dad's a smart man by telling you all of that. But I just wanted you to know that I'm done with the Parks Belt parking lot now, and I'm going to be going across the street to the Sears lot." And you know, I've been worried about my brother here lately. He's been putting on a lot of weight. I told him, "You know, brother, you really need to watch your stomach." He said that was exactly what the doctor had been telling him. So he's been eating a whole lot more food so he can put it out there to watch it, you see. But he loves food. His wife has to hire a circus clown to get his attention when she comes in with the groceries every month. But you know, I like my brother. The other day, he was hammering a nail on the wall, getting ready to hang a picture, and a little piece of his underwear was showing right here. And his BVDs spells out the word boulevard. But living on a farm was great. How many of you grew up on a farm? Yay, isn't that nice? You know, I didn't know that there was something that I didn't have. You know, we were so happy. And we didn't have all those fast food places on every corner like they are now. Yeah, my dad thought that fast food was when he hit a deer driving 80 miles an hour. And I thought fast food was when I was eating my biscuit running to catch the school bus every morning. So we didn't have those modern conveniences either. We had an outhouse. How many of y'all had an outhouse? Woohoo! See? Your grandmother. See, she's putting that off on her grandmother had one. Well, we had a two-holer. I used to sit in there and just think, now, who would I bring in here with me? Think about it. Who would you? But my Uncle Vern, he had a three-holer. He did. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to think up two more people to take in there with me, wouldn't you? I wouldn't even take my best friend in there with me. But one day, my Uncle Vern, he saw the outhouse door thrown back real wide open, and my cousin Lowell was in there with his fishing pole. So Uncle Vern went up there and said, "Son, what on this earth are you doing?" He said, "Well, you see, Daddy, I was sitting in here just minding my own business, and I accidentally dropped my new jacket right there in the hole beside of me." He said, "Well, son, you just need to leave that jacket alone. That jacket's ruined." He said, "Daddy, you don't understand. I left my sandwich in the pocket." I know you're getting ready to eat, but I had to tell that one. Me and my husband, we were happy for about the first 20 years, and then we met. His life was changed forever. You know, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and he looked around, and then he was pleased. And then God, he created man, and he looked around, and he was pleased. And then he rested. And then God created woman, and he was pleased, and he looked around. But since then, neither man nor God has rested. We keep on going, don't we? We raised 3 beautiful children too, and you know, everybody was telling me, it was in the 60s, and said, ooh, you gotta get Dr. Spock's book. He'll tell you how to raise your children. Get Dr. Spock's book. As a matter of fact, I got 2 of them as gifts from people. Well, I didn't open that book. You know, if my kids were misbehaving, I would hit them with whatever book I was reading. But you know, right there on the aspirin bottle was my instructions for raising my children. And I bet some of you all missed it. It says right there on the aspirin bottle to take 2 aspirins and to keep away from children. It worked. It was right there on that bottle. I'm telling you, I love to read labels on bottles. How many of y'all remember the first meal you ever cooked for your husband? Y'all remember that first meal? Do you remember the first meal that you ever got when you got married?
Sure do.
See?
Winners.
See? Well, we had that eventually that night, but my new husband, bless his little heart. You know, you can say that about anybody in the South. You can say somebody's got on an ugly shirt, and that's rude. But if you say, bless their little heart right there before you say it, it's okay. Okay? One of the first things I learned when I moved to Georgia. But anyway, I remember that first meal. My husband's family, anytime we got together with them, they had steak and baked potatoes and a salad. But you know, being raised on a farm, I never could see why people would put a bunch of leaves in a bowl and eat them. We didn't have that on the farm growing up. We didn't have steaks either. I mean, they cut up their meat in big old roast and things like that. We didn't have steaks. So I went to the grocery store and I picked up the first package that said the word steak. That was probably my first mistake. Then I went over there and I looked at the potatoes. And boy, there's a lot of different kinds of potatoes. And I got out some of the biggest ones. They was a little orange looking, but I got them. So then I decided I'd open up a big old jar of my mama's home canned green beans. But I put them steaks and the baked potatoes in the oven. It was about 2 o'clock, and he wouldn't be home till 6. And you see, my mama always said that the longer you leave your meat in the oven, the more tender it got. So I opened up her can of beans, and there wasn't a lot of liquid in that can, but I knew my mama knew what she was doing. You see, you remember? I helped my daddy out on the farm. It wasn't me that learned how to cook, okay? Well, my husband got home. I got the food out of the oven, served it to us on our plates. I could have worn them steaks on my feet for shoes. They's so tough. And them baked potatoes, we couldn't even pierce them with the fork. Them skins was so tough. And them green beans looked like little old dried up green toothpicks. Well, my husband, bless his little heart, I told him, you know, one time when the preacher was coming to visit, my mama did make me learn how to make a banana pudding from scratch. So I said, I'm going to go get that, honey. So while I was in the kitchen getting my banana pudding, my husband took our 2 plates of food and raked them off into the dog bowl over there that's set over there by the kitchen door. You know, I'm just going to have to yell on this one. I came back out of that kitchen with my banana pudding, and that dog was just going around in circles. He was just a yelping and a carrying on. It was awful. He was a licking his rear end. It was awful. I said, honey, what's wrong with our dog? Is he going to be all right? I thought the dog had gone mad. He said, oh, no, he's going to be all right. He is just trying to get the taste out of his mouth. Y'all didn't know where that was going, did you? So anyway, that was my first meal. And you know, when he really thought about it, he said, you didn't learn how to cook. We went up to Steger's drugstore up on the corner, and we got hot dogs and real greasy french fries. And then we walked down to the other corner, and there was those delicious Krispy Kreme donuts rolling down off that conveyor belt. So you know my first meal turned out to be pretty good. Yeah, the only thing I make good in the kitchen now are reservations. You see, I only have a kitchen in the house because it came with the house when we bought it. See, I'm not into that. I'm that outdoor person. And when I do cook, I try to keep with the 4 basic food groups. And you all are do this too. It's canned, bagged, baked, and frozen. But I see my kids coming up the driveway, and I run into the kitchen and I make reservations. And they come over more now, because they didn't like my cooking either. One day my son asked his dad, said, "Dad, how much did it cost you when you and Mom got married?" He said, "Oh, I don't know. I ain't added it up yet because I'm still paying." And I told my son, I said, "You know, you need to have more respect for your mom and your dad as we age." I said, "Your daddy and your mama is now worth a fortune. We have got silver in our hair. We've got gold in our teeth. We've got lead in our feet. We've got stones in our kidneys. We got gas in our stomachs. We are worth a fortune now. You just put 2 and 2 together." But I was invited to speak at an RV rally in April of this year. They sent me all the information, and they sent me this brochure. They had a beautiful, beautiful swimming pool. But you know, these people that pull these or drive these RVs, I can't understand why somebody gets in that thing and they drag along their kitchen sink, their king-size bed, and their toilets and go sleep in the woods. I just can't understand that. But I saw that this place had this real pretty swimming pool, and I ain't had me a new swimming suit in over 40 years. So what I did was, I drove my husband along with me because I knew he would tell me the truth. And I tried on all kinds of bathing suits. I tried on all colors, just all kinds of styles and designs, and I got tired. So I picked me out 2 that I liked the best. I picked me out a 2-piece and a 1-piece. And I went outside that dressing room door and I said, "Honey, you're going to have to help me out here. I can't decide on a bathing suit. And I don't know, should I get this 2-piece or should I get this all-in-one?" Well, he looked at them. He said, "You know, I like them both, Lynnie. They're both right pretty. I like the colors. But you need to get you that 2-piece one because you can't get it all in one." You know, I knew he would tell me the truth. Something else, you know, when I looked in that mirror trying on all the bathing suits and all, I just got really depressed. And I thought, whoa, I'm getting on up there in age. I feel like a fine old piece of furniture now. That's where your chest is done drop down in your drawers. So I went to my doctor and I made an appointment with the nurse, and I said, "I gotta see the doctor and talk to him about some things." And she said, "Well, he was free on Monday." I said, "That's great. You know, free on Monday." You all do know what them letters MD after the doctor's name stands for, don't you? Anybody know what that means? It means you're gonna be there most of the day. But I finally got to see the doctor, and he said, "You know, Miss Lynnie, you have been putting on a lot of weight lately." He said, "Maybe you just need to stay out of the kitchen." I said, "Well, every time I look in the mirror, I get real sick." He said he didn't see why, because my eyesight was perfect. But anyway, I told him, I said, "You know, I know why I'm putting on weight. I can't stay out of the kitchen, but it's because of my teeth." He said, "Why would your teeth make you put on weight?" I said, "Well, you see, I really have this huge collection of refrigerator magnets, and I have all of these metal fillings in my teeth, and it just keeps pulling me into the refrigerator. And skinny people just irritate me to pieces. My sister is so skinny. I mean, has been forever, since she's born. All right, she's 68 right now, and she just weighs 97 pounds. She says, sometimes I just forget to eat. I said, you know, sometimes, Gwenny, I forget my maiden name. Sometimes I forget where I put the car keys. Sometimes I forget my address, but I never forget to eat. That's just something we all do. But anyway, my doctor told me, maybe you just need to get in shape. I told him round was a shape. And he said, well, you know, maybe some light exercises like touching your toes or swimming would be good for you. I told him, I said, well, explain whales to me. They swim all the time. And touching my toes, I said if God had wanted me to touch my toes, he'd have put them on my knees. I mean, when I am down there tying my shoes, I look around to see if there's anything else I can do while I'm down there. I'm not into exercising. When I say the word exercising, I have to go wash my mouth out with chocolate. How many of you like chocolate? Yeah, see? I'm telling you, I'm in that snapdragon part of my life right now. That's where most of me has lost my snap, and the other part is just dragon. My doctor told me, he said, maybe you need to get into exercise program, maybe in one of them health clubs. So I went to the health club. He said, you know, maybe you could just start real slow. So when I left the doctor's office that day, I drove by the store that sold exercise equipment real slow. I did what he said. But I went into that gym and I signed up for a class. And I said, what do I have to bring to be in this class? What do I have to wear? So she gave me a list of clothes. So I drove back to that exercise store and I bought everything that was on that list. So I got in there to my class that day and I hurt in places that I didn't know I had. You know, I don't think they'd even named some of those parts on my body that I was hurting on. I mean, I bent and I stretched and I yelled and I hollered. And by the time I got the tights on, the class was over. And I went down the hall there a little ways, and those folks in there coming out of that other class, they was real happy. So I went over there and I asked that lady, I said, can I join your all's class? These people look real happy. What do I need to wear? She said, well, you just wear some real comfortable clothes. I told her if I had any real comfortable clothes, I wouldn't be there. But you know, when I was at that place and I was hurting, I told my doctor when I went back to see him, I said, I hurt in places. I said, doctor, I hurt in places that don't work anymore. I said, most of my body parts don't want to work. And the ones that do work leak. My eyes water. My nose runs. Sorry, Sandra. I saw that. I drool right here on the sides of my mouth. Well, you all get the picture. Right? And my clothes are not the only thing that are tight these days. Money is, isn't it? My husband set me down and he said, you know, we got to really watch our going out to eat. You got to start cooking more at home. So we came up with this plan. We get dressed up real fancy. I put on my pearls. He puts on his nice looking pants, his nice looking shirt, and we go out to eat 2 times a week. And it saved us a lot of money. He goes on Mondays and I go on Thursdays. And you know, he was always, well, I mean, when a birthday comes up, that's special, I think. And my birthday was recently, and I asked him, well, can't you just take me out someplace expensive for my birthday? He drove me straight to the gas station. And then my husband, he's been wanting one of those phones that all you men carry. I mean, oh, you just on it all the time. You got hundreds of pictures on it, and you clip it right here. I told him we couldn't afford to get one of them phones. So not to be outdone, when we go out or go shopping, he puts his garage door opener right here on his belt. See, he took care of that. My preacher came to see me the other day. He said, you know, Miss Lynnie, it's time for you to start thinking about the hereafter. I said, preacher, I think about the hereafter all the time. No matter if I am in the attic, the basement, the bedroom, or in the garage, I am always asking myself, now what was I hereafter? But you know, a survey was done at Notre Dame. And they come up with it. It's not us. It's not us. It's the door. You see, when you go out of one room and you pass through that doorway, that door wipes your mind clean so that you've got a fresh, clean slate to work with when you get in that other room. Isn't that neat? We thought it was us the whole time, and it was the door. But me and my husband both were having problems remembering things. And I discussed that with my doctor too. He said, you know, why don't you just get you a little tablet and an ink pen and jot down key words of things you want to remember. Well, the other night, my husband was watching TV, and I went in there and I said, honey, what's on TV tonight? And he said, dust. You see, at my age, I'm not into house cleaning either. I throw out a couple of little cleaning tips here to you ladies here. I go out and I buy me a whole bunch of get well cards. And I line them up on my mantle there in the living room. And when the people come through the front door to visit me and my house really looks bad, they look over there at all those cards and they say, bless her little heart, she was too sick to clean. And you know, when the preacher comes over, we can see we got a long driveway, and so we got plenty of time. We just get out a stack of drop cloths that we keep over there behind the couch, and we throw them all out on everything, and we tell him we was just getting ready to paint. But anyway, my husband, we were sitting in there. He was watching TV, and I was just kind of ambling out, hanging out in there with him and all. And he got up. I said, where are you going? He said, to the kitchen. I said, oh, while you're in there, will you get me a bowl of ice cream? But you better write it down like the doctor said. He said, I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream? He didn't like me coming home telling him what the doctor said we should do. And then just before he disappeared through the doorway, I said, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And today I got me some strawberries, and I've got them all sliced up real pretty with sugar on them. Would you put me some of those strawberries on my ice cream? But I know you better write that down. That's 2 things. He said, I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with strawberries on top. I said, oh, whoa, I got me some Cool Whip too. I got it in there thawing. Would you put me a dollop of Cool Whip on them strawberries? But you better write it down. That's 3 things. He said, oh, Lynnie, I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with strawberries and Cool Whip. How hard is that? Well, after 25 minutes, that man came back into that living room. He handed me a plate of bacon and eggs. I got so mad. You know what? I told you you needed to write it down. You couldn't remember 3 things. Looky here, a plate of bacon and eggs. Now where is my toast? See? He forgot it. He forgot it. When my husband retired, I didn't know what I was going to do. He followed along behind me like a little lost dog. I was trying to get him a job at McDonald's or something like that. I mean, I couldn't stand it. But I hit up on something that was really good. Maybe y'all ought to try this. I hide something of his every night before I go to bed, and he spends all the next day looking for it. And one of the best things to hide is, of course, the TV remote. One day I was mad at him when I left, and I just hurried back into the den and I snuck the remote in my purse. And when I was checking out, the remote accidentally fell out on the counter there, and the clerk said, "Why do you carry your TV remote around with you?" I said, "Well, you see, I was mad at my husband when I left, and this is the next best thing besides killing him." He likes that. All right, I would like to say thank you all. Usually I'm all over the floor, but you know that's okay. Y'all can hear me today, right? And I want to thank you all for having me, and then I wanted to know if anybody has a birthday today. No birthdays today? Yesterday. Yours was yesterday. Well, have I ever got something for you? Now, I am from East Tennessee, and I am a real hillbilly. And I have to go back home every now and then just to get a good dose of how to talk, you know. But basically, I talk like this all the time anyway. They never could take the country out of me, you know. And my mama, one time and for years I've been telling everybody words that I always heard my mama say. She always said to work hard and to do your best, to always keep your word, and don't get too big for your britches, to always trust in God, and to never forget a friend. And today, that just says a lot right there for who invited me here today, Miss Betty. And so that last statement there, never forget a friend. Let's always remember Betty. And I hope that she was at least laughing a time or two today. And then I've got a special gift for you. I do. This is my basket that I take around with me. This is my best friend, Miss Frog here. And one day she got mad at me because she didn't have a tag on her hat, so I had to put a tag on her hat. But anyway, I have a special gift for you here today. This is from East Tennessee. This is a weather vane, and you hang it out on your porch, and if it's white, it's snowing. And if it's wet, it's raining.
Don't let it walk too far.
And if it's stiff and just hanging there, it's frozen. So don't get outside, okay? And then if it's swinging, there's high winds. So don't wear your hat. It might blow it off, okay? And then if it's dry and cracked, it's just real hot outside and you don't need to be out there, okay? And then if it's gone, call the law because somebody has done gone and stole it, okay? There you go.
Thank you.
His was yesterday. Did anybody have one day before yesterday? Nobody? Does anybody got an anniversary today? Does anybody have? Were these people born? Did anybody have one the month of May?
I had an anniversary in May.
An anniversary in May. Don't you think I ought to give her one of these weather vanes?
She needs one.
Well, this year, I'm telling you, just like him, this will really help you. You know, this is one of the best things. You don't need to put batteries in it or nothing. And if the pollen gets on it, if it's yellow, it means it's really high up. Stay inside then too, okay?
Okay.
And I got the instructions there on the back of it in case you forget. But thank y'all for having me today, and I appreciate Miss Betty having me here today to see all these sweet smiling faces. And thank you, Sandra. Thank
Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee. There's more music from the Osborne Brothers coming up when New Country returns.